You might think what you learned in history class is the absolute truth. In reality, history isn't always as clear-cut as we believe. Each year, scientists uncover new evidence that forces us to re-examine familiar narratives. An ancient footprint can rewrite the entire history of human migration. A hidden detail about the Titanic can add layers of complexity to the world's most famous maritime disaster. And the tales of pirate treasure we heard as children? They might be nothing more than a work of fiction. Today, we're diving into 10 historical truths that will make you see the past in a new light. For years, textbooks taught that humans first arrived in the Americas around 13,000 years ago. However, a recent discovery in White Sands, New Mexico, has cast serious doubt on this long-held theory. There, scientists uncovered ancient human footprints preserved in fossilized mud. When they analyzed the age of the surrounding sediment layers, they arrived at an astonishing result: the footprints were approximately 23,000 years old. This pushes back the timeline of human settlement in North America by a staggering 10,000 years. What's even more fascinating is that many of the footprints are small, indicating that children and teenagers once walked through this area. Right alongside their tracks were the prints of giant mammoths, creatures that dominated the Ice Age. Just picturing that scene is enough to make you realize how different the past might be from what we've been taught. When you think of the Titanic disaster, the fateful iceberg immediately comes to mind. Yet, some researchers believe the ship was already in trouble long before that collision. On coal-powered ships of that era, smoldering fires in the coal bunkers were not uncommon. It's believed the Titanic was experiencing this very problem. A fire in one of its coal bunkers may have been burning for days before the ship even left port. The intense heat from the blaze could have heated and compromised a section of the ship's hull. When the Titanic struck the iceberg, that part of the metal hull might have been far less resilient than it should have been. Some researchers have even analyzed photographs of the Titanic before its voyage and noted unusual dark marks on its hull. While this theory remains controversial, it suggests the Titanic story is far more intricate than the simple narrative we all know. The image of the Spartans is often associated with a life of austerity and iron discipline. In movies, they are portrayed as warriors concerned only with combat and order. However, archaeological excavations have revealed a different picture. In Sparta, researchers have unearthed luxurious pottery, jewelry, and various items imported from distant lands. There is even evidence suggesting that Spartans used perfumes and beauty products. These findings indicate that Sparta's wealthy class may not have lived as simply as legend suggests. The austere warrior image might have been just one part of how they constructed their reputation and public identity. If you've ever seen a movie or read a story about ninjas, you're likely familiar with the image of warriors cloaked in black from head to toe. But the historical reality is quite different. Actual ninjas rarely wore specialized outfits. Instead, they typically disguised themselves as ordinary people like farmers, merchants, or monks. Their goal was to blend in, not to stand out. The idea of the black-clad ninja actually originates from Japanese kabuki theater. In these plays, stagehands dressed in all black were meant to be invisible to the audience. When a play needed to depict a ninja sneaking onto the stage, the character was simply dressed like one of these invisible figures. Over time, that theatrical image became the popular symbol of the ninja in mainstream culture. One of the most controversial artifacts in academic history is the Vinland map. For many years, this map was considered proof that Vikings knew of North America long before Columbus. The map was purported to have been drawn around the 15th century. But when scientists analyzed its ink using modern technology, they discovered something suspicious. The ink contained a compound that only became common in the 20th century. This has led many experts to believe the map may be an incredibly sophisticated forgery. Another famous legend tells of the Spanish explorer Ponce de Leon, who journeyed to Florida in search of a spring that granted eternal youth. But when historians examined documents from that period, they found no evidence to support this story. No letters, diaries, or official reports mention a quest for a fountain of youth. In reality, his expedition had a much more conventional purpose: to find resources and expand Spanish territory. One of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, also holds a great mystery. For centuries, archaeologists have searched for any trace of these gardens in Babylon. But to this day, they have found no definitive evidence. Some researchers now propose that the famous gardens might have actually been located in Nineveh, another ancient city in the region. Ancient texts from Nineveh describe terraced gardens irrigated by complex engineering systems, a description that closely matches that of the Hanging Gardens. William Shakespeare is remembered as a literary genius. But few people know he was also a shrewd businessman. Historical records show that Shakespeare invested in real estate and various other business ventures. He owned multiple properties and became quite a wealthy man by the end of his life. This reveals that his life may not have resembled the struggling artist image that many imagine. The popular story claims that a small band of Spanish soldiers defeated the entire Aztec Empire. But the reality is far more nuanced. Hernán Cortés had tens of thousands of indigenous allies from groups that had long been in conflict with the Aztecs. Furthermore, a smallpox epidemic brought by the Europeans played a crucial role. The disease spread rapidly and devastated the native population, significantly weakening the Aztec Empire's ability to defend itself. And finally, we have one of the most enduring images of pirates: buried treasure on a deserted island. But when historians study authentic pirate records, they find almost no evidence of this practice. The vast majority of pirates spent their loot as soon as they made it to port. The idea of buried treasure became popular after the novel Treasure Island was published in the 19th century. In other words, the image of a treasure map with an X likely has its roots in literature, not in historical fact. History is not set in stone. Every new discovery has the potential to change our understanding of the past. And sometimes, the stories we have believed for hundreds of years turn out to be nothing more than misunderstandings or oft-repeated legends. If you enjoy fascinating historical stories like these, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next exploration. Because out there are still so many of history's secrets waiting to be revealed.